The Trump administration doesn't have any plans to deal with COVID. They just want to open everything back up and pretend like there's nothing to be worried about. Well, one of the biggest upcoming challenges to that is a new school year. Can we open the schools back up? And if we do, how can we do it safely? Well, during a press briefing this afternoon, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany said that schools should open back up, and then, in what seemed to be a rather shocking statement, she said that the science should not stand in the way of this. Watch.
Yeah, the president has said unmistakably that he wants schools to open, and I was just in the Oval talking to him about that. And when he says open, he means open and full, kids being able to attend each and every day at their school. The science should not stand in the way of this.
That seems crazy, right? It seems like she's saying she doesn't want facts getting in the way of the Trump administration's desires. How dare those epidemiologists make us look bad by saying things like it might not be safe to open schools back up? But I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to defend Kayleigh McEnany, just for a second. Because I think that the people making fun of that line, and I've seen it happening all afternoon online, are misinterpreting what she's saying. And if they just listened to her for another minute, they would have realized that she's not saying schools should override the advice of scientists. She was actually saying something much worse, that science is on the Trump administration's side, that scientists say it's okay to open the schools back up. In other words, when she says the science should not stand in the way of this, that's not a threat against science. She actually means the science shouldn't stand in the way of this. Science is not an obstacle here. Don't believe me? Here, look at the rest of her statement to get a better sense of this.
The science is very clear on this, for instance, you look at the JAMA pediatric study of 46 pediatric hospitals in North America that said the risk of critical illness from COVID is far less for children than that of seasonal flu. The science is on our side here, and we encourage for localities and states to just simply follow the science, open our schools. It's very damaging to our children. There's a lack of reporting of abuse. There's mental depressions that are not addressed, suicidal ideations that are not addressed when students are not in school. Our schools are extremely important, they're essential, and they must reopen.
See? She's saying science backs her up. Science says kids are not dying from the virus. And if kids don't go to school, it could actually be really bad for them. Now, as with just about everything McEnany says, it may sound good, but she's still missing the point. Look, even if children would benefit from going back to school, which is true, and even if children seem less likely to die from COVID, which appears to be true, there are all kinds of other factors to consider. I know a lot of public school teachers, and you know what they're concerned about? They want to know what happens if teachers, especially older ones, if they get symptoms of COVID. Will they have to take 2 weeks off to self-quarantine? Is treatment covered under their insurance? Will they be paid for the time off? What about substitute teachers who often float between different buildings? They're exposed to even more people. What precautions are being taken for them? Or what if a teacher gets symptoms of COVID? Then will the school tell that teacher's students that they all need to stay home for 2 weeks? All 150 of them? Will those kids be tested? Who's paying for that? And what if bus drivers get sick? Imagine how many students they're exposed to every day. And how will schools handle COVID-related deaths of teachers? Those aren't the only questions, but McEnany didn't address any of them because she said science supports the Republican position that schools should open up because the kids will be all right. Yeah, but you need adults to teach them. So we're kind of ignoring a big piece of the puzzle. Her statement is entirely short-sighted since it doesn't take into account how the virus will spread among everyone else in the building. Opening schools back up without taking all those things into consideration could lead to disaster if implemented. I think I can speak for a lot of teachers and students when I say most of them want to go back to school. It's not fun doing everything online. Kids miss their friends, their clubs, their sports. Teachers miss the energy of students and their colleagues and just getting out of the house. But unless we take proper precautions, and the Trump administration is not helping with that right now, it's pretty much impossible to open up safely. Certainly across the board in every state. Criticize McEnany for all that. She deserves to be mocked for being ignorant. But don't mock her for something she didn't mean. It's way too easy for her to cry, liberal persecution when people do that.